All right, besties, welcome back to my channel. So, super short intro. This one is about Botox. I wasn't planning for it to get emotional, but I got very emotional towards the end of the second part, and then I do like a follow-up recap part at the end once I reach a more regulated state. So, like, follow, subscribe, share this with a friend, and turn the notification bell on so you know when I post new shit since I'm not regular at it yet. Okay, thank you so much. Here we go. All right, what's shaking, besties? Welcome back to my channel. This is a quickie one. This is just an update. I got Botox for the first time, and I'm never going to get it again. And I didn't actually get Botox, I got Dysport, which is like a newer version of Botox. Apparently it's supposed to last longer. And I did a little bit of research. I'm no science geek, but essentially the way it works is it's a toxin, and the toxin goes into some of the chemical processes in the body, and it like disables, it kind of like cuts off or it poisons or kills some of like, not the nerve receptors, but some of the peptides or like the proteins that engage to make muscles contract. So the toxin goes in and it kills that, or like disables it temporarily, or it kills it until it regenerates itself, and that prevents like muscles from like contracting. And I got it for beauty, for vanity, right? Because like I want to not have wrinkles, and I want to like not have crinkles in my head, and I want to age pretty. And I'm out here in like Southern California, like so close to LA, and all the guys here in Palm Springs, like it's very, very common for people to get Botox and to get Dysport. It's just what everybody does. And so I found a guy, I reached out to him, and it's interesting because I was on the fence about doing this in the first place, because I am really deep into my spirituality and deep into my meditation practice and deep into connecting with higher levels of consciousness, including like God and the earth. And I was afraid, this is like where your third eye chakra is. So there's the crown chakra, third eye chakra, throat chakra, heart chakra, and then it goes lower. But your third eye chakra is very much connected to like it's like your psychic sight. It's like your sixth sense in terms of how you see energy and how you perceive and pick up on other energies besides just like the material world. And it's a process to open your third eye, and it's a process to tune into your mind's eye and tune into your intuition and tune into these connection points that you can then like tune in and plug into, like conversating, talking with God, or talking with ascended masters, or communicating with your higher self, and all things like that. So like originally, like I was like, I'm nervous about getting a poison. It's literally a toxin injected into my face right here, because that's right where that connection point is. I don't want to like fuck up my chakras. I've done a lot of work to like clear out my system of density so that I can reach higher states of connection to everything I just mentioned. So, but then at the same time, like I want to be pretty. So I did like an online inquiry, and I was like, hi, I'm just curious like what the process is. I was hoping for more of like a consultation just to like chat. And they were like, I spoke with the receptionist, but I think it was like a weekend receptionist and not like a full-time person at this clinic. And they called me back, and there was a bit of a language barrier, and they were talking to me and saying like, oh, like there's not like a consult. If you want a consult, that's more for like higher intensity procedures. So like you're either in or you're out. And I was like, okay, no worries. I'm just not going to. I'm just gonna not do it, like whatever, no big deal. And then 2 days later, the front desk called me back and was like, hey, we heard there was a little bit of a miscommunication. We wanted to talk to you. You can absolutely do a little consult if you decide you don't want to do it, like no problem. But if you do want to do it, like you can do it the same day. Like, do you still want to keep your appointment for this time and this day? And I was like, fuck it, yes, I'm gonna do it. And I had the mindset was like, if I was meant to be there, right? I was meant to go. Like my mindset was like, they called me back, they want me there, I'm gonna follow this. Like I kind of sidestepped it, and then they came back and pulled me in. And I'm a believer that like things work out the way that they're supposed to, and like I kind of follow where I get pulled. And so I went in, and I spoke with the doctor, super nice guy, and I got Dysport. And when he injected it in me, I felt so sick. Like my body was not happy at all. I almost passed out. And like I get blood drawn, like I have no issue with that. I have no wooziness there. I'm kind of like a freak when it comes to like I like watching when they put the needles in, and like I like seeing stitches and shit like that. I was a scab picker growing up, like that kind of stuff. So I am not needle shy by any means, but I felt my body just, oh, and I felt so sick. I felt so gross. I felt like my insides were turning outside, and I almost passed out. And I was like, is this normal? He was like, no, it's not so much. But I had to hang out in the treatment room for a good like 15 minutes afterwards just to stabilize. And he had to lean me back because I literally almost passed out. And eventually I stabilized and I drove home, and I was kind of like, oh fuck, like this was not good. Like body literally just said absolutely not. Like my body was not happy at all, and like what was I thinking, right? It's a fucking toxin. And so whatever, I stabilized, I went home, and for the rest of the night I felt queasy, I felt sick, I felt like my body's detoxing systems were on high alert, and I was like, fuck, what have I done? And it was really hard for me not to go into wrongness about it and to go get really hard on myself. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna write this out. I chose this. Like, I do believe that I was supposed to go and do this because I was following like where I was getting pulled. And one second, my fucking soup needs to be turned off. Making chicken noodle soup. So whatever, like I wasn't feeling good, and I was like, fuck, I feel like I fucked up, but like hopefully this isn't a big deal. And it takes a couple days for it to like work. Like it takes a couple days for like the process of whatever those peptides or those proteins or whatever that is to like be poisoned or to be killed or to be disabled. It takes a little bit of time. So over the next couple of days, like I was still feeling like on and off, I would have these periods of like major wooziness and major like, oh, fuck me. And again, this has been a really big lesson in not going into wrongness and not like spiraling out and like, I thought I just turned that off. Okay. So I just wasn't feeling good afterwards. And then I was nervous because I was like, okay, how is this going to affect my energy? Like, how is this affecting my, like all that stuff I was worried about? First of all, the effects are fucking great. Like it was all up here and then here too for like crow's feet. So it's like working, and I've gone back and forth about like, I'm so beautiful. And like, oh my goodness, like I don't have to worry about wrinkles and stuff anymore because it's a real thing that I worry about. But this is bringing me to a deeper sense of appreciation for like my body and just aging gracefully and like blah, 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 blah. But so when I went to meditate, and I have like a whole process that I do in the mornings and in the evenings, and I was really getting, like prior to this, I was really getting some major like activation around my third eye. And I was really like tuning into my mind's eye and connecting visually and viscerally to these higher levels of consciousness that I tune into on the daily basis. And it was like a visceral experience where I actually was like feeling a buzzing here. And it was like, this is shit that like, it's like a muscle that you exercise and you grow over time. And I was really like making a lot of progress. And I'll say that I feel like I took a couple steps back with this, like majorly. And when I meditate now, like I'm not getting the same connection. I'm not getting the same like intensity. And then the question becomes like, okay, have I lost connection, or am I just losing, have I just turned down the volume of my perception of the connection? Right? Because we're all connected to the divine. Like we're all connected to these things. It's just a matter of how clearly we are interpreting and recognizing and feeling that connection. So I had to remind myself of that, like, right, there's no such thing as disconnecting ourselves. There's no such thing as disconnecting ourselves. It's just a matter of like how tuned in are we to that radio station? Like how clear is that transmission coming through? And I also, so like when I meditate, I do Reiki, and I have this whole process of I send energy. I send energy through me, I cleanse myself with Reiki. I use Reiki as a vehicle to connect to higher levels of consciousness. And then I send Reiki to like people, right? And my loved ones. And I channel energy. And when I do that, so like this is one of the Reiki symbols, and symbols are what you learn in Reiki level 2 to kind of enhance and power up the flow of the energy. And one of them looks like this. And when I do that, like I feel energy in my hands. Like I feel energy in my hands. I feel like, how do I describe it? It's like it feels like my hands are moving through a liquid, or like through some sort of like mass, where I physically feel the resistance and I feel energy around my hands. And when I do this, like I feel it quite intensely. But after getting the Dysport, it became quite subtle. It turned down the volume on it so much. I'm like, fuck. Like I like feeling it. I like the tangible connection to all of that, because like so much of energy work when you're first getting started is about trust and trusting the process and building the power of your intention until you end up starting to tune into more of these tangible aspects of it. At least it was for me. Some people like click into this stuff and they're like seeing shit and they're feeling stuff and they're like already like those volumes are very turned up for them. For me, like it took a long time to really build up these capacities to feel the energy. And after doing this, like the feeling changed. It's turned down, like I still feel it, but it's not quite there. And I didn't really spiral, but I did have a lot of worry come up around like, fuck again, like have I hurt my capacity to do this? Like have I turned down my capacity to move energy? Like when I see clients now, is it gonna be less effective? And I reminded myself again, like there's no, like I haven't turned down my capacity, I've only dampened my awareness. I've just turned down what it feels like, or how I'm interpreting it. And speaking of, I have a client coming soon, and I was trying to fit this video in, it's already 12 minutes long. What time is it? Okay. So, the litmus test was gonna be when I had a client come in. And I had a client come in and I do Reiki in my sessions, and it was like, okay, phew, like, oh, we're still moving the same amount of energy. Like when I was in it, like the energy was doing all the same things. I was tuned into it. I could sense it just kind of in a different lens. So that was very validating, and that felt really good. It was like, okay, I haven't really, it's just the awareness that's been turned down, not the actual capacity to move the energy. And I did feel that too, like with my own meditation, with my own practice, like I still feel my nervous system down regulating. I still feel my body taking the breaths and like calming down the same way. It's just like the sensation of the subtle energies themselves isn't as much, but the effect of what they're doing is the same. The main thing though that is very, very interesting is my capacity to cry and feel pain right now, like emotional pain. Where I am somebody who is a fucking sap when it comes to like sad movies or happy movies. Like I bawl. I cry at like weddings, I cry at commercials, I cry at fucking kids and families on YouTube videos and Instagram. And I've really like opened up my capacity to feel my range of emotions, and feeling my pain to free it from my system is something that I really pride myself in. But I've noticed, because you know when you like cry and your face gets all scrunched up and you get all ugly, like that muscular thing happens here. Like I notice that I don't cry as much now. And it's harder for me to access those feelings of crying for joy, crying for beauty, crying for pain, crying for being proud of myself, crying for like fill in the blank. Like last night I was watching Schitt's Creek. I was watching the last season, and it was where like David and whatever his face get married. And I like feel the crying wanting to come up. I feel the emotions wanting to come up, but it's like there's a damper on them. It's like there's a force that's holding them down, where some of it still comes up, some of it still comes out, but it's like, if you visualize emotions vacating the body like a levee or like a dam, water going through a dam, like it feels like the dam has been built taller, where it now takes more for that water, that emotion to spill out or to spill over. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because, like I said, you feel it to free it without feeding it. That's something that I learned from my mentor. When it comes to the trauma body, when it comes to regulating the nervous system, when it comes to clearing our systems out of all the trapped pain and density that we haven't had the safety to fully move through when all that shit was activated, we have to feel it. All that shit is still inside of us. We have decades of pain and unprocessed emotions inside of us. And so the process of descending into the body, into regulating the nervous system, into creating a higher vibrational internal landscape is the process of clearing out the density, is a process of feeling the pain to free it. Pain, anger, sadness, sorrow, grief, those are all denser feelings, and so they have to vacate the body, and it's a painful process for them to vacate because they're denser emotions, right? And so again, I really pride myself in my ability to feel my fucking pain, because that is the vehicle by which I create a safer internal landscape for my nervous system to regulate deeper and to hold more safety for myself and others. So like, me not being able to do that quite as effectively, like it's not like gone, it's just like there's a wall up on it. I fucking hate it. And I will never do this again. 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 I won't. And I'm almost emotional right now because it's like, I feel like I fucked up. I feel like I really fucked up. Fuck. And even like crying right now, like it's not. My body's not doing what it's designed to do. I did something that hurt my body. I did something that like hurt my body, and I did it on purpose. And I did it because I wanted to like myself more. All right, I'm back. I'm regulated. Oh, I had a session with my client. It was fantastic, and I moved through a lot of the feelings since then and getting back on camera here. Yeah, I guess there was more to that than I thought. There was more under the surface than I really thought, and I'm like, I love this space so much. I love this container that I've created for myself to come in here and verbally process and share stories and like have emotional releases. And I appreciate you all for like witnessing me in it, because it really helps me, and it's really like, I'm such a verbal processor, and having this space to come in and be seen and witnessed and like process through things just helps catalyze this process of moving the energy out of me. So I really thank you all for it. And I have a lot of trepidations. When's the last time I used that word? I have a lot of trepidations. Like I get in my head quite a bit around how vulnerable I get on here and whether or not I should do that. And you know, I really love learning and I love reading, and one of like, I mean, I can tie this back to human design. I have so many open centers in human design, which allows for a lot of the external world to like penetrate and like influence me, which is like a beautiful, beautiful thing in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it provides room for a lot of conditioning to take place. And I just finished one of Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly, and it was all about vulnerability, and it put so many beautiful words around why it's so important to practice vulnerability. But she also talked about like vulnerability bombs, kind of this thing, and I got in my head and I was like, oh my god, is that what I'm doing on my YouTube channel? Am I just like dropping vulnerability bombs, and is it like totally inappropriate for my audience and like blah 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 blah? But no, I don't think that's the case. And even if it is the case, like fuck it. It feels good to me, it feels aligned to me, and yeah, so that's the tea. I won't be getting Botox anymore or Dysport, and I do think that this, like, I was talking to my mentor about this, and I was sharing about all the things of how like it's more challenging for me to like release emotionally with this toxin in me, and she I adore her, and I'm so grateful for her. And just the other day I was like just pouring love to her and just saying how I really feel like I hit the jackpot with her, because like she was my Reiki master teacher, like back when I learned Reiki 5 years ago, and I've stuck with, like, she was my first like intro to spirituality and like mentorship, and I didn't need anybody else. Like, I mean, I've touched, I worked with the net for human design, and I like stick my fingers in other pools, but like my core philosophies like really come from Erin. And I was just like pouring so much love of how grateful I am. I really feel like I hit the jackpot with like striking gold with my first and like main mentor. But she was saying how like this is like part of my medicine, it's part of my potency, it's like part of my journey, and I now get, she was saying like how this provided me, and I totally agree, like this provided me a sense of what that disconnection feels like, to provide me that contrast, to provide me that awareness. And she was like, just think about how many people out there have Botox or have Dysport who aren't even aware of, or potentially aware of, the disconnection from their body that it could be taking from them, or that disconnection it could be creating for them. And this experience now allows me to have firsthand experience and to shed light on it. And like, I will likely be like, who knows, but I'll likely be like able to, I'm hoping this is of service. Like, that's like the whole fucking point of this. Like, yes, I am getting to share my story and process, and it's great, but like, I really am here to be of service. And she was talking about like what we do as these coaches or as these mentors is we help people come into deeper, more harmonious connection with themselves, with their spirituality, with their bodies, with, for me, like their sexualities, or with God, with Mother Earth. Like, we help people come to greater and more harmonious connections and deeper connections with all of those things. And so like the unique flavors and experiences that we all have on our paths as mentors are specific experiences that we then get to help walk other people through. So that's beautiful, and that's like, it gives this all purpose, right? And that's really meaningful to me. So I appreciate her to the fucking moon. And yeah, again, thank you all for being here. I love you all, and like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and stay tuned. I'm working on my website, so I'll have like a website to show you guys all soon. Bye.